Guys walk away from the game all the time, and people talk about depression because you're not in the locker room. You don't have your teammates around. I watch Reggie Wayne, for instance. I'll never forget being a coach, and I'm going to try to get Reggie Wayne on the show to talk about this. When I was a coach, I had Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison, Roy Hall, Pierre Garçon, and Joseph Adai was the running back at LSU. And I remember walking through the halls. It had to be, I don't know what time, 9 a.m. And we're going to breakfast, I think. And I'm sitting down, me and Frank Wright. Frank Wright at the time was a quarterback's coach. And me and Frank Wright are sitting down to have lunch, and Chuck, or I think it was Chuck Winters or Winters. But Winters was his last. Frank Winters, lineman for the Packers. He was there as well as offensive assistant. And so we're sitting down eating. And so Joseph Adai and Reggie, and they're purposely doing this. You know how you do. You talk loud so that the person you're talking about can hear you. And they're talking loud in the lunchroom like, man, I don't think I ever would come back and coach. Like, man, I can't believe he's doing that. And I know they're talking about me. And so then Reggie comes over and is like, Ron, man, you just didn't want to stay away. And I'm like, look, man, one, I didn't play. I'm not, like these guys were already deep into their career. I didn't play 9 years. I can't just sit back and do nothing. I only played about 3 or 4. So I need the money, one. 2, I enjoy sports, which is why I'm doing this, why I do, pregame shows, why I do games, play-by-play. I love this. And I know when I'm my happiest is during football season. That's when I'm super excited. My wife can never hear no from me. Like I'm willing to do anything during football season. I'm just a ball of joy. In the off season, I know it can get to me a little bit because I'm away from the game. And I think that's where Tom Brady's at. I don't think this is about money. I truly believe this is about just being connected to the game. Still, I mean, look at Peyton Manning. He's still connected. Him and Eli. They're doing Monday night games. Different format. They're not traveling. They're not, asked to do every single game, but they're there. They're doing those games. You look at all these former players now getting in the booth. Ryan Clark. You got Dan Orlovsky. You got Marcus Spears. Look at some guys' social media when they're not doing their sport. Look at some guys' social media who are away from the game and how they want to be connected so bad again. That's what I'm learning, man. It's about being connected. Guys want to be connected. Guys don't want to just walk away from the sport. So for people that think it's about Giselle and his kids and they're making all these jokes, it has nothing to do with them. Yes. I mean, it's probably, for the Joe Blow average person who's never played the sport, never been a high level athlete. And then you see Giselle, you're like, man, I'm staying home. But that's the same reason why you would stay home and not go work out. That's why you wouldn't have 7 Super Bowls because Tom Brady has the discipline and be like, look, I love her. She knows I love her, but I gotta look out for me. I gotta look out for my family by providing and going out and winning and getting more checks and getting more, contracts. And so that's the difference in a high level athlete and Tom Brady and a high level competitor. And that's where I think this Fox, deal is coming from. 1, they need to replace Joe Buck eventually. 2, they want to catch lightning in a bottle like CBS did with Tony Romo. And I think Brady can do it because he knows how to decipher offenses. He's seen every single team. I think he's beaten every team. Like he's beaten all 32 or 31 or no, 32 teams because he left and then he beat his own team. So he's the only guy to ever beat all 32 teams. Nobody will ever do that again. I don't think as quarterback. But that's where I think this lies. I think this lies with just not wanting to be disconnected from the sport, Sam. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, it helps too that some of these analyst contracts, like Romo and Aikman,
Huge,
$15-20 million a year. I mean, that's a game changer when you have the opportunity to get that. And every network would be thrilled to have Tom Brady. I mean, Tom Brady probably sat back the last couple of years and saw this happen and just knew that it's hard to do anything more lucrative than that for less work. I mean, he's not working 40 hours a week. Doing that. I mean, he's doing his research, sure, but he's probably doing that from the comfort of his home and he gets to, fly out on Saturday, call a game Sunday, and then come home. It's a great gig for him. My question to you, Ron, real quickly, having done this, having gone from the field to the broadcast booth, you've done color commentary. What's the biggest challenge that you think he's going to face or that you faced when you made that move?
So I'll say early on, I did the Big Ten Network back in 2009, I think 2010, right after I got done coaching with the Colts. So I had to be like 10, maybe. Early on, the tough thing was not saying dumb stuff just to talk. Like not just trying to I'll never forget, and this is gonna always be burned in my brain because that's why I do so much research now. And people joke about all the numbers and stats and people I know and the time I take to research. I tried to tell a story about Aurelius Bidd, the receiver from Illinois. And I was doing the Illinois Gopher game in Minnesota. That was the one that sticks out. And I remember Aurelius Bidd, like his name was Juice. Oh no, sorry, his nickname was Regis. And I had no idea why it was Rejus. It was like Rejus, Rejus. No
Mhm.
idea why that was his nickname. But my dumb butt, I don't know. I don't know. I still to this day don't remember what story I told, but it had nothing to do because when I Googled it later, like at the commercial break, I was like, why the hell did I just make that story up? Because that is not why they call him that. But like it popped up because it was on like the thing that said Aurelius Rejus Ben. And so when I saw the Rejus, I don't know why. Like I was like, they call him Rejus because and I don't know what I said, but I was just like, I Googled why they call him that, and even the reason was super dumb. Like people, I hate when people give people dumb nicknames that don't have anything to do with anything. But when I saw it, I was like, why did I make that up? Now the good thing was it was before Twitter, so nobody could make fun of me. Nobody could post a video and say this guy's an idiot. What is he talking about? That is not why they call him that. Um, so yeah, but I will say that do your research about any backstories you want to talk about, whether it's a guy's getting his master's degree, guy graduated early, guy's girlfriend is a Dancer with the Stars alumni. That's the early issues. After that, man, it like doing I did like a couple Nevada games last year, Nevada versus New Mexico, blah blah. After that, it gets fun. Like I even did the whole prediction thing myself, but I only did like 3 times. I wasn't going to sit there and Romo that thing the whole game, but I did do a couple because people were tweeting from Nevada fans. That was the best thing to see people tweeting like, man, who is this guy in the booth? Man, like I can't believe he knows our plays. And honestly, some of their stuff was super easy. I mean, they put a 6'6" tight end out to the left and put 4 receivers to the right. I'm like, they're going left. Like the guy is man to man with a freaking linebacker, and he's a former receiver. I'm like, they're going to him, and they threw it to him 3 straight times before he caught one for a touchdown. But I just kind of said that. I said, look at the motion. I was like, oh, yep, they're going fade tight end, and they did it. And then they did it again and did it again. I'm like, yep, they're going back to the fade with the tight end. That's all I think I called that, and I called one up the seam because I saw Romeo Doubs motion across. I'm like, oh yeah, he's gonna run through the seam, and if he doesn't get carried by the linebacker, Carson Strong has a strong enough arm to gun it in there, and he did it, and Romeo Doubs took it to the house. That was the 2 times I did it. Other than that, I didn't try to do it because I hate when I hear it and they're wrong. So I try not to do that, even though it is tempting. I see why Romo does it because when you're watching the game, you're like a fan. Like people don't realize, like, even though you're wearing a suit and you're in a booth with tons of lights and cameras and crew around you and all these people in your ear saying commercial break, this is this, and it's people running around with pets' heads falling off.
Mm.
It's you're still a fan. So you're watching the game like, oh, like big hits, you're like, oh, like you have to make sure your mic is off. Sometimes it's not. And you're in this game. And so, like, yeah, you want to call out as a guy like myself that loves offense, like you want to call it out, like, oh, here it comes bubble screen. And Romo does it, and 9 times out of 10, he's wrong. So, but he gets praised for that one time he gets it right, and then we see it all over Twitter for the next week, and he's the greatest thing ever, and people love him, and then some people hate him. But yeah, that's where I'd say for Brady, man, it's going to be don't try to overdo it. He's Tom Brady. People are going to watch and listen anyway. People have to turn into Fox anyway, and he's going to get a ton of like people watching because of the publicity. Now, the one thing I didn't think about too, and you hit the nail on the head, he's not going to play a game. So most likely with his money, he can just, they're going to have a jet for him. So he'll be able to take his family if he wants on some of these road games he has to call, like, whether it's in Miami, whether it's in Tampa, whether it's in LA, wherever they're going, I know they sold their home in Boston, but they probably can take his kids with them because, get them their own room. Him and Giselle have a suite. You're just getting up to go call a game. You can hang out all night, drink at the bar, have dinner. Like, you don't have to be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and, ready to call 15 plays in the first 5 minutes. So there's another aspect to that I'm forgetting with the money. Like you said, if it's going to be a $15-20 million Tony Romo type deal, he can easily write off $1 million on a jet for the season, or not even that. I think it's $30,000 a flight. So yeah, that's easy for him to write off $400,000-500,000 of that 15 million. That's going to get his family to all the games, and he can write it off. So yeah, I think Tom Brady's doing it for that reason. I don't think it's the money. I think it's the connection. Staying connected to the game, and that's huge for alumni. I hear a ton about guys being depressed, guys being mental. I mean, that's why so many guys commit suicide. When you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, my dad's teammates, you got Mike Webster living under a highway, all that kind of stuff, man. So it's real. It's mental health. I don't think it's so much of CTE, more so than just mental health of being disconnected from the guys you had. And Tom Brady doesn't want to lose that connection.